let you go. There's no way. I'm already still burning. So hold to me close. Now, baby, I do what I'm told. Still learning to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line. Yeah, you got me shifting the paradigm. No longer wishing. You're my lucky strike. Love the way you ride. Look into my eyes, say you're ready to go. $1 million life, yeah. We could roll the dice. Act like you surprised, but you already know. Oh yeah, got lucky overnight. Jackpot when I got the invite. Let me wrap my arms around you, cause I can't go home without you. And my heart just vibe with you, babe. Wanna go sky high with you, babe. Gotta bring you close to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. Cooler than cold, I'm all in. So load up the dice, so heavy. The way that you roll, I'm falling. So I never fall. I'm ready to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line. Yeah, you got me shifting the paradigm. No longer wishing. You're my lucky strike. Yeah. Love the way you ride. Look into my eyes, say you're ready to go. $1 million life, yeah. We could roll the dice. Yeah. Act like you surprised, but you already know. You're my lucky strike, and I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. And I got to tell you, if you didn't know, then I got to tell you that you're my lucky strike. I can't let you go. There's no way.
Why, hello, folks. I'm so glad to be here. You know you're in for a treat when you hear that tune, because it's time for another week of the RecPoker podcast. I'm your host, Jim Reid. I've got the best freaking job in the world. I get to hang out here on Monday nights with my poker friends and talk to some amazing people in the poker world. This is the RecPoker podcast, and because of most of what we do here at RecPoker is free, and we're a largely volunteer-based organization, I have to thank our sponsors, the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. And I have to thank our premium members for their support. And I encourage folks to go get a free RecPoker account right now. Go on, head on over to www.rec.poker and sign up. All it takes is an email address and a smile, although both are mandatory. And I'd love our folks to think about becoming a premium member. Drop that $5 and try out our premium membership program. It's brought to you by everyone here on the RECing Crew, because it takes more than just one. You'll get used to hearing my voice on the show, but I'm just one of the panel here, the RECing Crew panel that makes it all happen. And if you want to learn more about the RECing Crew or me, you can go to rec.poker/crew. But just listen up, because you're going to meet a few of them right now.
Well, I'm Chris Jones. You can find me 5B5 on Twitter or 5x5 in the PokerStars home game. My name is Joe Coolis. You can find me at Joe Cool PhD, cool with a K, on Twitter, as well as Elvita11 on the home game.
And I'm John Somsky. I am Poker Geek MN everywhere.
And I'm Kim Kilroy. I am PetVet33 on the home game and PetVet_33 on Twitter.
And he's just arriving right now. We're going to be talking to LoriAnn Persinger in just a moment, but I know Rob Washam has just appeared in the chat. So Rob, why don't you introduce yourself as well? You are alphabetically last in any case, so it's not like we're missing anything.
Exactly. All right. My name is Rob Washam, and I'm known as Rabman50 just about everywhere.
There you go. So I've tipped my hand. We're talking to LoriAnn Persinger today. LoriAnn was a recent qualifier to a WPT tournament, which I know we're going to get into some of the details there. She's also appeared recently on the Thinking Poker podcast. She's had a talk with Rob Gardner, a longtime friend of the show. I think the poker world is kind of catching on to LoriAnn Persinger. So I'm so glad, LoriAnn, that you could take a few moments and join us here on the RecPoker podcast. Thanks for coming on the show.
No, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So you know the drill here. Folks, if you're in the YouTube chat, you're going to have a chance to type your questions in for LoriAnn. And of course, at the end of the show, we're going to do our raffle. So we're going to try and raise some awareness for food insecurity and help people support their local food bank. So we'll get to that at the end of the show. But first, LoriAnn. So there's so many places we could take this. You have such an interesting story. I want to talk a little bit about sort of your approach to things like the game show process and sort of what that's been like, some corollaries to the poker world. I want to talk about sort of how you prepare as a recreational player for a situation like this when you've kind of parlayed your way into a very high entry tournament that you wouldn't normally play. But first, I just want to start kind of in your own words. Can you share with our audience sort of where you think of yourself in the poker world? How would you kind of define your role in the poker world?
My role in the poker world, that's a good question. I'm not sure because this is all kind of coming full circle for the most part. For a while there, I just considered myself just a recreational player, which I do still, but I guess that's kind of out the window. Part-time recreational player, as I like to say. I consider myself a rec who wants to play like a pro. That was always my self-mantra. And now that I guess it's kind of changed a little bit with the whole WPT thing, it's kind of changed in a good way, which I wanted to use this as a way to show that, yes, we are recreational players, but we're recreational players that can be taken seriously. Because I do know going in that for a lot of us that won the packages, the expectations were not there really. They were pretty low. So I'm glad that I could kind of, set that and let people know that, hey, we are Recs, but we can play the game. If we put in the time, we put in the work. So it's just what I've done over the years. So.
I love it. I mean, we do talk about that here. Like, just because we're amateur players, that really just means that we have day jobs, or some of us, Rob, are retired and living the life down there in Arizona. But it doesn't mean that we're not serious poker players. Some of us are actually fairly accomplished. But it's just the role in our lives is that it's a recreational experience. We play for fun. We enjoy the game, and that's kind of what we all have in common here. So I love that answer.
Well, I play for fun, but I'm very serious at the table. No, anyone that knows yes, I tell them I'm there for fun, but I'm there to take your chips. I will do it with a big smile on my face, but yes, I am there. And I tell people my attitude going in is I don't care if it's a $60 tournament or a $600 tournament. I'm always there to bring my A game. So that's the way I approach the game.
Good. Well, I love that. And
that's what's worked for me. So not really going to change it anytime soon. So.
Yeah. Well, we like to have fun, but it's more fun when you win. We talk about that quite a lot. It's much more fun when you win.
How that works, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it just seems to be that way. So yes, it's definitely more fun when you win.
So let's start at the front end, and then we're going to work back a little bit. So recently, you made the 6-figure score. It obviously must have been a pretty galvanizing experience. You've also been a guest, like I say, on a lot of podcasts recently. I feel like you've kind of reached a pivot point in the poker world. Like, it feels like the whole world's kind of opening up to you now. What's that experience been like? Like, what's it been like for the last few months, and what kind of change to your life has this victory brought?
Well, actually, it's been more the last couple of weeks. And to my life personally, it's not been much of a change. I mean, I'm still my same person. I still play my same tournaments, my same daily. In fact, I played the Resorts World yesterday. Proud to say I took that one down. They're $200 10K.
I saw that on Twitter. Yeah, amazing.
That's perfect timing. Thank you. And in fact, Abby and I are going to go play the Resorts World tournament this evening. It's part of our game. Yes, that's what we do. So in that aspect, my life really has not changed. In fact, a lot of people were saying they expected to see me in more of the bigger buy-in tournaments. And I was like, no, I didn't win the $4.1 million. You know, this is not life-changing money per se. And I'm just the kind of person that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, it's just, this has been what's worked for me. And I'll be honest with you, I like money. So it's like, if I tend to do well, I'm doing well in the lower buy-in tournaments. I keep cashing. That's what my bread and butter is. You know, I'm just going to leave it at that. And that's what works for me. But the one thing that I will say that has changed, and I like the fact that getting a little more exposure on the podcast, I've done a lot in the last couple of weeks. It's all come at me kind of all at once, as I said, but I like that because I feel, as I've said on the other podcast, that there is a voice that's missing when it comes to who poker tends to reach out or make their stars or make their heroes. And I just feel that unfortunately, the demographic of middle-aged women, and especially I feel middle-aged women of color, is a demographic that's underrepresented and is underrepresented, for lack of a better word or better term. So if I can bring attention to that and be an ambassador for that, I'm here for it.
Nice. I love that.
I do. And in fact, I whip out my fan because women my age will know what this means. So, but yes, I have my fan. It is just a part of life. I'm not embarrassed by it. I just embrace the whole thing. So like I said, young women out there may not know what I'm talking about, but if you're in my age group, you know what I'm referring to.
I love that.
Some men know. Some men know.
Some men know. Trust me, the hubby knows. He bought me a whole collection of fans, so he knows.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So I'll remind our listeners, if you're watching along in the YouTube chat, feel free to type any questions about fans or otherwise into the chat there. And if you're here on the panel and you've got questions for LoriAnn, just unmute and I'll call on you here. Well, that's a great place to start. I mean, I think we've talked about the player pool of poker, making it a more inclusive space, making more people comfortable there, trying to sort of, you know, when you look at the percentages of online players versus demographically versus the percentage of live players, you see that women are underrepresented in live games. And there's a lot of talk about sort of what are the ways that we can make the space more comfortable for women. But I think you're making a great point when you talk about not just the player pool necessarily, but also the professionals within the industry and some of like the sponsored players and that kind of thing. Is it something, I mean, what do you have any ideas about sort of what you think is a root cause for that? Or is it a question of needing to be more aggressive with the way that we pursue, you know, people and try and bring them more to the forefront? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Just that's a good question. My personal experience, I think a lot of times too, like even this day and age, everything is about clicks and drama. And I tell people, like right now, this may not be the most exciting interview. You know, we're not fighting, we're not doing anything. I'm trying to be drama free. And unfortunately, right now, that's just not what's popular. It's the young influencers there's not enough middle ground. You got, like I said, the young influencers, the young 20-somethings and everything like that, which obviously don't fall into that demographic. Then over here, you've got where everybody wants to watch the high stakes now, where they're basically losing houses and cars in one pot, and the over-the-top personalities, the bad guys in poker. And I just don't think that there's enough middle ground that they're trying to appeal to. More of us, because let's be honest, I just feel there's a lot more of what's in the middle than what's over here or what's over here. And do I have an answer for it? No, but I just wish that the higher ups or the people in power that make these decisions would figure it out, because I just think that there is just a whole player pool that they're missing in that demographic. Because like I said, I myself can speak, I've been married for years, but I'm at the age where I kind of, as I say, I'm one of the women, we've raised our families. We have more free time and everything. And some more women that are retired have more disposable income. I just think that it's a demographic that's just being overlooked? And
And
I
you've-
wish I had an answer for it.
I see we've got a couple questions lined up, but I just want to get a little more context on that because you've been involved in the poker industry before as well. And I feel like, did you kind of take some time away from that aspect to play, or tell me a little bit about that story?
No, I actually kind of did by accident. I started actually doing well when I was working for Poker News. Everything was always part-time for me. Everything I did poker-wise was part-time. And I started, as I would say, being part of the poker media and having done it and being able to watch the best players in the world. I always tell people that for me was the best learning tool because I got to see it up close and watch the best players in the world play and just try to get, or even when if you know me, you've been following the other podcasts that I've done, you'll see that I'm a live stream junkie. Because you can see everything basically in real time, even though it's on a 30-minute delay, you can really see all the hands. It's not a watered down or edited program for TV to fit the 1 hour time frame. So that was a great learning tool for me. And I just tried to use that to my advantage. And I did pretty much. I hope that answered that question in a kind of a roundabout way. So
that's the only way.
Yeah, I just believe in using every tool that you have at your disposal.
Yeah, and roundabout ways are the only ways that we answer questions around here. Sometimes it's the only ways we ask questions around here. We've got a couple YouTube comments here, and then I know Joe has a question for you. So Jack LaRue says, "LoriAnn, you're the best." Richard P says, "Such a pleasure at the poker table." And Evil Roy Slade says, "Go normies." So you've got a few. The
normies. Oh, so we're going to be normies, huh? Hey, I'm there for it. Normies. Okay.
Joe.
That's right. Joe. Us regular people.
Exactly. That's it. We're filling out the middle.
That's right. There's a lot in the middle there. You know, I just can't imagine going in, like I said, losing I don't know. I say, just as I tell my husband, my dream car is an Aston Martin. I can't imagine losing an Aston Martin in one pot. I just can't see it. It's just
I'm getting uncomfortable just thinking about it. Yeah.
Just talking about it. So no, but I love the game. What else you got for me?
Joe, jump in, man.
So if I have any of this autobiographical information wrong, just tell me, because I find what I can on the internet, and that is wildly wrong at times. But my understanding is that you're a Navy veteran. Where did you serve? Where did you serve and what kind of capacity?
I actually went in on Christmas Eve, 1986. So I spent Christmas Eve and Christmas in boot camp. And in fact, it's always interesting because I'm a huge football fan and the Denver Broncos are my favorite team. Well, Denver Broncos and New Orleans Saints. And the infamous drive, I never saw until months later because I was in boot camp at the time. But that's actually, like I said, I grew up kind of spoiled and I wanted to, not that that's a bad thing, but I wanted to do something for myself. I actually attended 1 year of college at Eastern Illinois University, but at the time I went in originally on a grant and not knowing how everything works. At the time, I couldn't go back. They said my mom made too much money. She had a house and a business. I guess it looked great on paper. I didn't understand all that. I just knew I didn't want to be what I considered a burden to my parents pretty much. So I decided to join the military and basically to kind of grow up actually, I never regret the decision and just decided to join the Navy as opposed to the Air Force. Now remember I was young at the time when I made this decision, but my younger brother had already joined the Air Force. So there was pretty much no way in hell I was going to have my younger brother outrank me. So I decided I had to go with the Navy because I didn't want to wear green with the Army. And even though I love the Marine uniforms, I still think they're the best dress blue uniforms out there. Even though I was in the Navy, those are the uniforms, but I settled on the Navy. And never regretted the decision because I ended up meeting my husband as a result of it.
So I just have a follow. All this is leading to something, but what did you do? Yeah. Did you serve on a ship? Or did you serve shoreside? Did you?
No. Now this is 1986. To answer your question about serving on a ship, when I first went in, women rarely went on ships. It were mainly medical ships. Now, of course, that's changed a lot. So at the time, no, I was mainly shore duty, and I went in at the time what was known as a CTM, stands for Cryptologic Technician Maintenance, fixing crypto equipment, and didn't really understand it going in. I just knew that when I was in boot camp and the first couple months in the military, they were doing background checks on my friends and my family and everything because I needed a top secret clearance to do this. and went through almost 10 months of school, I think it was. I was a month short of graduating, and kind of being the overachiever that I am, even in boot camp, I was what's known, if anyone listening is a Navy veteran, they know what an RPOC is, the Recruit Chief Petty Officer. So I was the #1 recruit in our boot camp company. I was also platoon leader in A school, so I was what's known as a good sailor. But about a month from graduating, I realized what CTMs really did and that they got sent to isolated duty stations, and I considered myself a people person. So I really did not want to do that. And I requested to be dropped from school. And it was an accelerated program. So when you graduate from, because I came out of boot camp automatically in E3, a seaman. And
Yep.
when you graduate from the A school, you're automatically a 3rd class petty officer. I was going to put on a chevron right away from graduating from A school.
Yep.
So I asked to be dropped. And because I was, quote, a good sailor, they sent me as what's known a non-rate to New Orleans, the Enlisted Personnel Management Center, which is now up in, we refer to it as EPMAC for short. It's now in Millington, Tennessee, and went there as a non-rate. And that's, like I said, is where I ended up meeting my husband. But me, the kind of person that I am, nerds rule. I was a nerd. I'm a bookworm. I'm proud of it because I ended up doing what's called book study. And I cry. He's like, yeah, that's right, nerds rule. And I ended up book studying to be a personnelman. Is what I did. I went from being non-rate, and I ended up, by the time I did 4 years, and when I got out, I was an E5 in 4 years, less than 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I never went to PNA school.
So I guess my question is, you know, the thing you don't know about me is that my full-time gig is at the VA. And so I see a lot of men and women in service. So, but thank you for your service is what we always like to say. But the question I have related to some things that you talked about earlier is that the military is not always welcoming to individuals of color, and it's not always welcoming to women in general. And so in a lot of respects, it's interesting to me that in the same breath of coming up through the military at a time when a lot of women struggle in that realm, from the same sort of things that sometimes at the poker table that you see, how comparable were those two experiences of trying to assert yourself as a woman of color in a place where there's not always a lot of women of color?
Oh, I love that question. Thank you for asking it. Actually, I was fortunate, like I said, where I got sent was a staff command, and it was an outstanding. I mean, we're in New Orleans, so I got to go through 3 Mardi Gras. But in fact, one of my best friends from the Navy still to this day is Vanessa, because she's retired Navy as well. We were all in the same office. And I remember Senior Chief Martin was the first Black woman I had ever seen in khakis. And when you're in khakis, you're a chief or above. And she was kind of like my inspiration. And I'll be honest with you, I actually had, even though I only did 4 years, I had a really good career wise where people were behind me. I had a really good support system. And I think it's because of the fact I was always an overachiever and I worked really hard. So I was like, I got a lot of awards. In fact, I was handpicked to be my commanding officer's driver. And one of the stories I told, and this was all as a 3rd class. Now, this is the time before they had Junior Sailors of the Year and Senior Sailors of the Year like they do now. Back then, it was just Sailor of the Year. So I was a 3rd class competing with first classes. I was an E4 competing with E6s for our Command Sailor of the Year, and I came in 2nd place. And I remember at the time, my senior chief coming back into the office after I went to the board and I had to stand in front of the board and answer all these questions, and they prepped me really well for this. And my lieutenant commander coming back in and both being upset because I did not get it. And the reason I didn't get it, they let me know, was because the command master chief put it plainly, he was not going to have a 3rd class as his Sailor of the Year. It didn't matter if I deserved it. So when you're in your young 20s, you don't understand that. You're like, wait, if I deserve it, I should get it. So the reason that's important is because, of course, now it prepared me years later for poker, where just because you have the best hand, you're the best player, doesn't mean you necessarily get it. And I actually had that unfortunately happen to me twice in less than 6-month period. I was also put up for the Greater New Orleans Area Sailor of the Year. Again, the same story. I came in 2nd because I was the only 3rd class going up against other 1st classes. So I always appreciated my command for giving me that support and everything. So like I said, I was fortunate in that even though I was a woman and I was a Black woman, I actually had a very good support system. So I was pretty fortunate. And because I know a lot of people have through the military, not always that fortunate. In fact, my husband, because he went back in after 9/11, we have broken service, and I tried to re-enlist, but at that time, when you bring up women on ships, by then women were deploying and going on ships, and I had a medical condition. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a medical waiver, And it worked out, I guess, okay, because my husband ended up being able to re-enlist, and he ended up, as a result, doing 2 tours to Iraq. And our son was small at the time and wasn't familiar with military life. So it was a big change for him and a big adjustment. So that actually worked out. So like I said, it made things maybe different now. I mean, I don't know, it may be a little bit worse or hopefully a lot better, but I can't speak to that personal experience part of it. I can only speak to what I went through. And like I said, I know I was fortunate because I have met other women in the military and I see other stories, and you definitely see stuff on social media and online where I know I was pretty fortunate compared to a lot of other women. I do not take that for granted.
Very good. Well, I'm glad that it was better for you. It's not the same for everybody, but
no, oh no. And that's one of my pet peeves in life is that when I told someone else I have like 3 categories of in life that can also correlate to poker. And I have an issue with people that have their own little bubble, the way I perceive it, that, oh, well, this didn't happen to me. So it's obvious that doesn't go on, that it just drives me up the wall. That if you're, the way I put it, if you were fortunate enough to not have that happen to you or have the experience with that, like when I can bring up for myself, even though I didn't experience in the military, I was fortunate, like racism, I definitely got that outside of that. So I don't like when someone comes up and says, well, it doesn't exist, or this sexism, ageism, or whatever ism is out there, that it doesn't exist just because you didn't personally experience it. That just drives me up the wall. So I hope that answered that question.
It does. And if anybody wants a listing of all the acronyms they use, if you're in federal service, you have to know what those acronyms are for that. So I'll provide a glossary at the end.
Absolutely. And thank you for working at the VA.
Oh,
that's
it's
an underappreciated thing too. Yes.
It's a gift. It's a gift to me. So I get to work there every day. So that's great.
That's actually where I discovered my medical condition. Going to the VA is where it took a little bit, but I finally figured it out. I was going to the VA in Phoenix, Arizona. So yeah, I was grateful for that. So yes.
Well, I'll give the floor up to other people. So
I'm an open book.
Kim, you had some questions about LoriAnn's WPT situation.
Hi, LoriAnn.
Hi, Kim. How are
nice
you?
to meet you.
Nice to
I'm
meet
going to
you.
pull the conversation back to poker.
Okay.
I'm really happy and want to thank you for being such a great inspiration for women, and especially for women of color and women of a certain age.
You're very welcome.
But what I'd like to know, because I don't think our whole audience has listened to all of these other podcasts or even follows poker media, I would like to hear about how you won your entry, what the entry was for, and how you did in the event, and a little story about the event itself.
Oh, I'd love to, and thank you for asking. How I won the event, for those that aren't familiar, there's an online, you can play online, it's called WPT Global. You can't play in the United States, but you can play outside the United States. But the World Poker Tour also has ambassadors, such as Brad Owen, Andrew Nemi, who we'll get to in a moment, even, and I'm thinking the other vloggers, Jamin, they all had different contests they held online. And what they were doing, they were playing online. And if it was understood that if they won one of the packages, they could not keep them. They would hold contests to give the packages away. And each one of the ambassadors held their own individual online contest. And in fact, I entered, I think I told someone, I think it was 5 different contests. In fact, Andrew Nemi's contest, the original poker vlogger, his was the last contest I entered. And his was the most simple one on Twitter. He just basically said, why you think you deserve the seat. And I told people it's uncomfortable saying deserve, but I went the route of why I was passionate about poker. And that's what I explained as many characters as Twitter would allow. And found out, I guess he ended up giving away 4 packages. One he did on Instagram, and the other 2, I can't remember, because Joan got one she got on Instagram, and then Jesse and I won his Twitter contest. And I just remember when I got the notification on Twitter, I think I entered it November the 7th. You can see the original tweet. And I think it was on November the 17th or something, like about 10 days later, that I got a Twitter notification saying that, from what Andrew had tweeted, saying that I had won and that I'm in. He loved my passion and that I was in. And I could not believe it. I still say I started crying, literally screaming and crying. I was just so happy. I could not believe I had just won this package. So
and what was included in the package? What was
basically entry into the tournament, the $10,400 entry, and plus you get a per diem. They allowed, because most of the people are coming from other places and had to travel to get there. I was one of the few fortunate ones that got a package that actually lived in Vegas, so I didn't have much traveling to do. But it allowed me to do a little staycation at Encore because my husband, he was there as well, to take some of the nervousness and pressure off. We actually did a staycation at Encore, so kind of used a little bit of the money for that. So yeah,
Nice.
and that's what was included in the package.
And
and they
what
just-
place did you come? How did you end up in that?
I did okay, I guess you could say. Before I get to that, I was going to say for everyone who there were a lot of package winners that were there, and they just treated us like royalty. We had a VIP room, there was a party. It was just an amazing, amazing experience. And to answer your question, I actually finished 30th out of 2,960 players for a $119,300 score. Yeah, I made it all the way to day 5. So close, but yeah, I was hoping to get through. If you made it through day 5, then you were on the final table. So I didn't quite. I unfortunately went out early on day 5. I lost a race with Ace King of Hearts. It's funny, I never forget the hand. Ace King of Hearts in my small blind to Jean-Claude's Pocket Queens all in pre-flop. And Jean-Claude went on. He used those chips very well. He went on to finish 3rd place. So put my chips to good use. Yeah.
Wow.
The
And how
last
many people were in that?
qualifier,
Just how many people were in that?
2,960. And I take a lot of pride. Not only was I the last remaining qualifier, there were several hundred qualifiers in between WPT Global and Club WPT, but they put out that I was also the last woman standing in the event. So took a lot of pride in that as well too.
Of course. And did it give you the bug to play more events in that genre, like more 10Ks, or you just go back to your 200s and 300s?
No, not at all. Because of the buy-in. If I could play that structure and that skill level, it's funny because I went through emotions where I tell people I won the seat. I was like, holy crap. And then I won't say what I really say. I'll keep it clean. Then I go from you go from nervous to like, holy shit, holy crap. Oh, you go back and forth. And going in, I just adapted. This is where my game show experience came in, because every time I went on a game show, I just had the attitude where I've already won just by being picked to be on the game show. So for me, it was the same thing with the package. I had nothing to lose. I had nothing to lose and everything to gain. And I just set small goals for myself. Like in the beginning, my original goal was just the bag. I was just it was my first ever 10K I was playing, and I just want to bag and make it to day 2. In fact, the only 10K that had been on my bucket list was the main event. I'm still going to get to. So this was never in my wildest dreams. So it was just a bag and make it to day 2. And then once I made it to day 2, I was coming into day 3, which is where we're in the money. I was actually one of the top chip stacks. So it was just unreal to me to be playing my first 10K and getting close to the money bubble. And actually, unless something went horrifically wrong, I was in no danger of not cashing. So it was just, like I said, just baby steps. And as I mentioned before, when you get the pink slip, that, when you bag for the day, you put a pink slip in the bag. And I said it was the first time in my life I've ever gotten a pink slip, and it was the best pink slips. And I got 4 of them. So it was cool to get pink slips. So yeah.
What a fantastic story. Yeah.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Kim, any other follow-ups there?
No, but I hope you ask her about the game shows.
Oh yeah, no, trust me.
As a
it's
game
on the
nerd,
list.
I want to hear about it.
It's on the list. Chris, you had something. Why don't you jump in first?
LoriAnn, before we get to the game shows, I wanted to ask you just a little bit more about the poker side of this. And by the way, I just also wanted to remind our audience that if they didn't get a chance, you were featured on the live stream, which is still available. You could go watch some of those hands. There's some really great moments and great hands to go back and review. Yeah. I'm a live stream junkie too.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's great. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, I'm on the end of day 3. Yes, you're right. Those 2 back-to-back hands on the end of day 3. And I didn't realize, I thought it would be my only live stream appearance. I didn't know I would end up being back on early on day 4. So I ended up with 2 live stream appearances. So yes.
So one of the things that, we hear a lot from our recreational player pool that we kind of work with and, as part of our community, is this idea of like moving up in stakes. Like, what do I need to do differently if I go play a little bit higher stakes? And as somebody who has a ton of experience playing at sort of the lower buy-in, and I know you said you went in thinking I'm already a winner just being there, but when you have this opportunity in front of you and you're going to be up against just a player pool that's really good. I mean, there's going to be a mix there, but there's going to be some elite players playing against you. Did you make adjustments to your approach, or did you just kind of go in and say, I'm confident in what I do, and I'm going to go in and play this like I would play any other game, any other poker game that I usually play?
Actually, I didn't change anything. And I know that sounds really weird, and it's some people probably be like, huh? And it goes back to the, as I use the analogy, when I used to say every day on the Super Bowl, you treat, oh, it's just another game. And I remember I'm like, sure it is, sure it is. That was my attitude with this is just another poker tournament to me. And that's because if I tried to think other than that, it would have freaked me out. I'll be honest with you. I just thought, and I also looked at it that this would probably be my only chance I ever got to play with some of these players that I've watched on TV for years, that I've stood behind. I saw play at the US Poker Open. I see playing in the, the big buy-in events, the 100K buy-in events. This was going to be my only chance to play with these guys. And I actually had both Brock Wilson and Stephen Chidwick on my table on day one. And I got to be honest, they were sitting seats 4 and 5. And I'll tell this story. I never forget. Now it's out there, it's over, but I'll never, in fact, I was lucky. Andrew was on the next table over. But in this particular day, Stephen Chidwick was in seat 4 and Brock Wilson was in seat 5. And Chidwick raised and was immediately 3-bet by Brock Wilson. And I remember the look that he shot him, like they're sitting right next to each other. And I thought, my God, he would have died right then and there. So the reason it's important later, it kind of was just like, holy crap, the look is even more intimidating in person. So later on, it gets around to where Stephen Chidwick is the big blind. It's folded to me in late position. I have ace-10, which should be a standard raise. You're in late position with ace-10. But it was because it was his big blind. I just said, no, I just folded. I was just like, I didn't want it. I remember I texted my husband telling him, I just check it out, raise it. And my husband goes, you. He called me. He's like, you've never been. I says, I don't know. I just didn't want him to give me the stare down for how dare you raise my big blind. But it was just like, but I just loved every moment of sitting there with, even when I had Brian Rast on my table on day 2 and day 3. Unfortunately, I busted Brian Rast. The short of the money, I got lucky against him with ace queen of clubs against his ace king, right? Ended up with Broadway. But just the fact, I mean, anyone who plays poker, any sport that you do, it's always your dream, or I think should be your dream, to be able to play with the best. And that's one of the things that people have always said about poker, is that if you have the money, you can play with the best. And I like it that one of my favorite dealers at Resorts World, his name is John, and his thing going in when he found I won the package, he said to me, I'll never forget, he says, all this time that the only difference between them and you is bankroll. And I said, well, I don't know if I'm that good, but yes, that's one of the things I never forget him telling me that he had utmost confidence in me going in. I think even more than I had in myself, that I was going to do well in that tournament, because as he put it, he's dealt to me so much when I play tournaments. And I think that's a big part of it too, is that would I play more if I had more of a bankroll? I would not be dropping 10Ks left and right. Don't get me wrong. I believe in satelliting in, because one of my other things coming up is I have the US Poker Open coming up at the Poker Go Studios, and they're running some satellites. And I would try a satellite or two. I'll sell action for that, obviously, and try to, because I did a satellite in the Poker Go Studios about 2 months ago. And that was just an amazing experience, just playing in there. So again, to have a chance of, as I've said before, to get waxed by the best in the world, I'm up for it. If I'm gonna get wrecked, I might as well get wrecked by the best.
I love it. Yeah, good. And so I know Kim's got a couple questions about the game show stuff, but I want to just segue from Chris's question there. So how much time did you have between knowing that you were playing in the event and the event itself? Like how much time did you have between those two?
It was less than a month. I had, I think about 3.5 weeks total. And the night, something else that's also important, the Sunday night, I played day 1A. So Sunday night, Andrew had all of us, we had a qualifiers dinner at Wazuzu at Wynn. And as I'm going, my husband and I are getting ready to go to dinner right outside the Wynn poker room. Anthony Zeno, I see him, I'm going to the poker room and stop. And I remember I've known Anthony as an acquaintance since 2015 when he was the player of the year. And when I first won the package, I texted him and reached out to him, letting him know that I was going to be playing a WPT, and I remember telling him, any and all advice you can give me, I will take. I mean, he's a 3-time WPT champion, and stopped outside, and he was gracious enough to talk with me. In fact, we ended up getting to dinner a little bit late, but it wasn't like I was going to interrupt him or stop him from talking. But the thing he told me the most, first and foremost, take advantage of my perceived table image. He said, I'm coming in as an unknown recreational player, gray hair, older in age. I always like to dress nice at the table. There's already going to be that perception of how I play. I'm an unknown rec. He said, so I'm going to be able to get away with bluffs that he would never be able to get away with. So to use that to my advantage. And I took his advice. There's one other important thing he told me, and I can't remember, but yeah, he gave me the advice and I used it. So big shout out to Anthony Zeno as well.
Yeah. And then did you do any active studying, or did you lean on any resources in the meantime? Like just in that month to prepare for this, was there anything specific that you decided to look into or apply yourself for?
Yes, and I'm giving all this unintentional promos, but I own a PokerGo subscription. I poured over the different high roller events because I knew all those players, because by the time originally, I think when they first put it out, people were worried it was going to make the guarantee. But by the time we were getting a week out or 2 weeks out from the event, I knew it was going to be huge and that all these players were going to be there. So I started pouring over any and all live streams with all of these players that were playing, because I knew I was going to, at some point, it was going to be impossible not to see these players. And because it was a single re-entry format, you could play a subsequent day, and I've only got my one bullet. And I know sometimes that I can bust a person, they'll come back later. I don't have that. I wanted to make sure that I went in as prepared as possible to see, just be on the outside looking in at how they play and what hands they play and what position, that's what I use for my studying.
So it sounds like you're really kind of, at that point, tailoring your study to sort of exploiting or not being exploited by the player pool for that particular tournament. Is that right? Absolutely,
a little of both. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And so then earlier in your poker career, to get you to this point, what has been an effective study for you? Have you, other than just watching other people play poker, have you worked with other coaches or training sites, or have you read books or watched videos that you really liked, or what's the way that you like to learn that sort of helped you develop a more advanced poker strategy?
I basically over the years learned by doing. Like I said, watching, and as mentioned before, it was my husband. I've watched poker for years. I don't know if that's come up in the background, but I've watched poker long before they had the whole cards. I've always watched it. It was my husband that used to tell me, you need to stop watching and start playing. And I was like, I don't play. I just want to go, because our background also too, we've been married, it's almost 33, it'll be 33 years in June. And we were actually married, thank you. We were actually married here in Vegas. So when we would come, even stationed in San Diego, we would come to Vegas 2 or 3 times a year. And he would go play poker, but I would sit at the penny slots because I just like to just push the buttons. I told people I was on vacation. I didn't want to think. With poker, you got to think. I don't drink while playing poker. I tell people I rarely drink. I can milk the heck out of it. I like a Bailey's and decaf or a Moscato d'Asti or a good margarita. Obviously not all at once, but I'll milk one drink. And I like to just sit there and push the button. And so my husband's like, no, you need to come and play. You understand the game. You're a math person. I studied math in college. So, and I, like I said, totally understand it and been watching it for years. So once I kind of sat down, I started with low limit, really low limit. And it just went from there. I like limit, but I just found that, I guess it's the competitor in me. It didn't take long to go over to no limit. But I knew in the beginning that, yes, I definitely had still a lot to learn. So I started watching more and like I said, pouring over more. And it also helped, again, the invaluable learning, hands-on, I guess you call learning experience of being able to watch people up close play. That definitely helped a lot.
So Kim mentioned earlier, and I think if folks have listened to the other shows you've been on, they know that you have a background in game shows. It sounds like you're actually becoming a bit of an expert on how to get selected to be on the game shows. On the Thinking Poker podcast, you were talking about just kind of having like a positive energy and being, enthusiastic about it and that sort of thing. If the folks haven't had a chance to listen, can you just tell us a little bit about sort of the experience of getting, and one thing that really interested me, you kind of mentioned it as though there's like this common pool of talent scouts and contestants that once you're kind of in the pool and people feel like you're good, contestant fodder. You might find yourself on a few lists. Can you just talk a little bit about kind of that system, that the sense of logistics involved in that?
Small community like the poker community. If you work enough poker rooms, everybody in a poker room kind of knows each other. It's the same thing with the casting business. I imagine in any type of casting in Hollywood as a whole, they just kind of know each other. And casting people that cast game shows, they're given, once they're successful in one, they're given the task of casting others, and it just kind of goes from there and there, as it should. And one of the things that helped with me, I'll be honest with you, the military background, definitely first and foremost, even though I only served for 4 years, they just like the fact being a female vet, just get kind of, that's what got my foot in the door. And I just use that to my advantage. But as you can see, I'm not really shy. I talk. I have a big personality. So other things that, you know, that people, they're looking for on game shows and want to root for. And I tell people, if you're listening and you're trying to audition for a game show, just best advice I can give you is to be yourself, be real, because they've done this for years. They can spot fake. They can spot people that are trying too hard. They want you to be genuine. They want people that they can root for. And believe it or not, they like people that talk. Like when I'm nervous, I talk really fast. And that's someone, they don't want someone that they're going to have to goad along to get them to interact with. Because a lot of shows these days too, you're interacting with other celebrities that are now the host for the show. So they want someone that will be able to go back and forth or do banter and things like that. And of course they want enthusiastic people. They don't want people that feel that they should be there, they should have been picked. And like I said, I just think the fact that I love doing game shows and my natural enthusiasm and that I'm just happy to be there, I just think it's something that just comes through naturally for me.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm really hoping that enthusiasm is like a secret power that unlocks doors for you, because it's my only qualifying credential when it comes to the poker world. So I hear that. Bring on the enthusiastic, please. Let's take the world on by storm, LoriAnn.
Well,
that's why I say it just takes a smile.
Before the World Poker Tour, I did tell my husband it would just be nice if eventually that I could turn my game show Run Good into Poker Run Good at some point. And that happened in December of last year. So, it's just like I said, but I have been pretty fortunate on game shows. I've done, like I said, I've been on 7 and won 6, 2 of which were with my husband.
That's insane. That's just like, that's irresponsible. That's unsustainably strong. You should stop going. You're never going to be able to maintain that level of success.
Someone asked me after I was on Wheel of Fortune, was my first big one. And then after I went on Price is Right, and both times I won cars on there, and someone asked me what my secret was. And I just told them I had no secret. I just, whatever was working, I didn't know, but I wasn't going to mess with it. I was just going to just go with it. Well, I just wasn't going to try to figure it out, because if I thought too hard about it, then I would probably just mess the whole thing up. So I just went with it. Like I said, it's awesome. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
For me, game shows were sort of what was on TV if I stayed home from school sick. And so for me, it was mostly the Wheel of Fortune and The Price is Right are the ones that I kind of identify with for myself. Although these days, Jeopardy is my favorite. My wife and I sort of compete over Jeopardy every time that we see it on TV.
I love Jeopardy.
Yeah, I mean,
so I just
no.
Hey, I'm not embarrassed to admit it. I could not pass the freaking Jeopardy test. Trust me. I tried this and thought, okay, it's just not meant to be.
Well, you can't be good at every game show out there, LoriAnn. Leave some crumbs for the rest of us. Hey, Jeopardy's the one. If I could pick one, it would be Jeopardy for me. Kim,
completed my trifecta, yeah.
What about you, Kim?
Yeah, Jeopardy's my favorite too, but I used to love Family Feud as well back in the day. I wanted to know which one was your favorite, LoriAnn, of all the ones you were on. What was your favorite game show?
Oh, my absolute favorite is still Wheel of Fortune. My favorite as far as fun was Wheel of Fortune. The most memorable one I tell people is the one I did with my husband, where it was a reality competition game show where we were against 2 other teams. That was called TNT's The Great Escape, and we actually won. That was my first ever 6-figure score. We won $100,000 together. So that's my most memorable. But my favorite one was Wheel of Fortune because of he's like, you're just scratching the surface there. That was TNT's The Great Escape was number 4 in the line of 6. But yeah, my first experience on Wheel of Fortune was amazing, because I was one of these that used to watch it on the couch and I would just nail it. And I remember, if you want to hear the story, I'll be happy to tell you the story of Wheel of Fortune, because it's a really cool story. It's we were in San Diego. This is after 9/11, after my husband went back in. So they were coming to San Diego to film at the convention center. And if you watch Wheel of Fortune enough to know, you know, if they go to different cities, they always have 3 different weeks. And in San Diego, they were going to have a San Diego week, a military week, and a college week. Well, I went in to audition for the college because I was on their mailing list. They said, we're coming to San Diego to audition. I'm like, okay, I'm there. And go in to audition for military week. And it's all military, active military and veterans that are there. And you start out with a bunch of people in the room. And after doing it all day, we get narrowed down. I'll do the fast forward version. We get narrowed down to about 20 people in the room. And that's when you finally get to play the mock-up game. Earlier, it's just about personality and filling in puzzles on paper and things. But this time we had a fake wheel and I spun the wheel. And unfortunately, I solved the puzzle. So the other 2 people didn't get to go. It was 2 other Marines. And like I said, I felt bad. They didn't get to go, but I didn't feel all that bad. So they had us do the game again. So when we were done with the audition on a Sunday, they had it at the Marriott in downtown San Diego, if anyone's ever been there. And I felt I nailed it. And I was like, I'm going on Wheel of Fortune. I nailed this. And they said, you'll find out Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest. And Tuesday and Wednesday came and went. I didn't hear anything. So I was actually pretty bummed. And they said, well, if you don't get picked for San Diego, maybe we'll have you on later in the year where you have to go up to Hollywood and you'll be on there. And I was just like, well, okay. And the thing during that time, I had just started working at a law firm. It was a small boutique law firm and didn't tell them my audition. So came into work one day and all the partners were there, all 4 of them. It was a small boutique law firm. And I was the receptionist file clerk. And all day that day, the paralegal, she kept clearing off my desk. Like when there was something to be filed, she would file it for me, which I thought, this is my job. And didn't understand why. So later, it was early afternoon, this woman comes in and asks to see the managing partner. And I said, do you have an appointment? And she says, no, but he'll see me. And I go to the door. I said, well, so-and-so's here to see you. And he says, okay, let her in. And she's in there for like 5 minutes and they talk. And then on her way back out, she stops by my desk and she says, thank you, Lori. And I was like, you're welcome. And didn't realize I never told the woman my name. So a few minutes later, the door opens up again. And here comes these television cameras and all these balloons. And I thought the law firm had just like, we just did a big case and that we're all going to get bonuses. That's what I'm thinking. Well, they stopped at my desk and they said, what can you tell us about Road to the Wheel? And I was just like, and I was like, oh, so that's how I found out I got picked for Wheel of Fortune. They picked one person the people I just started working with found out I was going to be on a game show that I didn't even tell them I auditioned for before I even thought I was going to be on it. And they filmed all of this for the news that day. So I said, I was new. I said, can I leave and go? I got to call my husband. They're filming me calling my husband, telling him I'm getting on the show. And I got 4 tickets where everybody else, the contestants all got 2. So I got 4 tickets. And turns out they were also filming the whole backstage and everything for a program that really was called Road to the Wheel, which came up with that. And I was featured on the program Road to the Wheel. I was like the central person. So that was my experience with Wheel of Fortune. And then to get on the show and win the show. And that was the other part, the funny part. Yeah, I actually got on there and we're in the green room. So they're telling us what we can win. And I'll never forget, another contestant and I, when they're showing we can win, they had a Ford Focus. And we're being snarky. I'll be honest, I was like, Ford Focus. Who wants to win a Ford Focus? You know, it's like nice cars. It's a freaking Ford Focus. So back then, this was April 2003. That's when they were just putting the wedge. We can have bankrupt. You pick it up, and now it can say car on the back. Well, we got on there, and I hit the ground running. First 2 puzzles I solved, I was like, yes, I've been waiting for this. And I was just like, just happy to be there because back then you got $500 just for being on the show. Now you get $1,000. So it came around to one of the puzzles. And I landed on the wedge with the car, and I picked it up and I got a letter, but I didn't solve the puzzle, but I got to keep the wedge. So by the time it came back around to me, the other 2 people, I had figured out what the puzzle was. And Pat says, you get to see, says, Lori, you want to spin? You want to spin? I said, no, I'd like to solve the puzzle. And I never forget to this day, this is 20 years later, Pat says, but you have no money. And I said, but I have a car. And I solved the puzzle. And it was, you have to spend money to make money. And I won the freaking Ford Focus. And then I proceeded to start crying because when you do game shows, everything's done in real time. So thankfully we went to a commercial break and they come there like, you have to stop crying because my makeup is running. And I'm like, I just won a car. So it turns out when you ask who wants to win a freaking Ford Focus, I did and just didn't know it. I mean, it's a car. So,
nice.
And I almost won 2. I got the bonus. If I had gotten the bonus round, I would have won 2 cars, but I didn't get the bonus round. So
well, you have to do better next time.
Well, I did go to Price is Right and win a car. So that's So it kind of worked out on Price is Right, but that's another story in itself.
Nice to leave yourself some room to improve there. I think that's very generous. Joe, jump in, man.
Well, I just, with all affection, I just want to say that I think that if we put Jim and LoriAnn in a room, we could probably get enough renewable energy in order to to power the Southwest United States. So.
Yeah, that's right. The power of enthusiasm. Yeah,
I do what I can.
Yeah, nice. Kim, you had another poker-related question, I think.
I did. Do you travel at all for poker? I personally do a lot of traveling. I like to travel around the world. And is any place on your bucket list to go and play poker?
To answer your question, I don't travel a lot. Thankfully, don't have to really, because I live in Las Vegas. So there's pretty much a lot here. My husband and I did just come back from Commerce last month. We did take a little trip for the weekend to play an event there. But if there was one place on my poker bucket list, I would have to say the PSPC in the Bahamas. I mean, it's the Bahamas, other than that 25K buy-in, but just the thought of playing poker in the Bahamas, or I think Barcelona would be a really nice place to play as well, too, somewhere like that. And now that I'm going, I was like, there's only one, but now I'm start thinking, and Paris. Okay, the list may get a little long. Yeah. I mean, then there's Paris. So yes, I would say probably those are top three, definitely.
And the Irish Open is next month.
Which one?
Ireland. Irish Open is next month.
That is true. Yes, it's like I don't know if I'm going that far just yet. But those other three are my top three. Like I said, I still want to get to the Bahamas. That Atlantis and Bahamas, that area has been on my bucket list for a while. Not a big fan of flying, but for that, I'd make an exception.
Nice. And in fact, one of Kim's poker friends, so Kim's our resident living the lifestyle consultant. She flies around the world playing poker all over. Nice. She just tours around with her poker friends, Elizabeth Bennett Martin and Stuart Carriage. So Stu's in the YouTube chat right now and just says congratulations on your score, along with some other nice friendly folks saying nice things in the YouTube chat. Thanks everybody. That's really great.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a good group. It's a good group around here.
I've learned I don't watch the chat. When I see the playback, I turn the chat off because that was one of my biggest fears when I did the live stream on for the World Poker Tour. I called my husband and I said, tell my family, I said, my parents are going to watch. I told them, ignore the chat, please, because I said people can be so mean. But it turns out I was actually totally wrong. The chat was overwhelmingly positive, so I was really happy since my family was watching. I was a little nervous. I'll be honest with you.
Hey, there's a lot of garbage. There's a lot of garbage humans out there. There's no doubt about it. And anywhere they can be anonymous, you can count on a few jerks showing up. So, that's right. The comment section of internet and drivers of large vehicles. You know, they're you can't touch them. They're completely invulnerable. So yeah.
And I agree with you 100%.
So the you mentioned the main event of the WSOP as being like one of the 10Ks that you would consider playing. Is that one still circled for you, or are you making plans to satellite in?
Absolutely, yes to both of those questions. Yes, always if I can satellite in first, always.
Yeah, nice.
10K, that's still a lot to drop on one tournament. So I'm the kind of person who still thinks, okay, 10,000, I can play this, and this. You know, that's the way I look at it. Yes, so that's still a big drop in the bucket. So
yeah, exactly.
Satellite in, yes. Satellite in or sell action. All of the above.
Highly recommend. Highly recommend. Well, Lori, if folks want to connect and learn more about you, or if they want to reach out over social media or that sort of thing, what's the best way for people to contact you if they want to get more LoriAnn Persinger in their lives?
More LoriAnn? Oh my goodness!
Can you imagine?
I know I can't. I'm actually my DMs are open on Twitter. Like I said, unless you're someone that's going to be rude or whatever, I'll block you. But I'm a pretty, like I said, pretty open book. I love talking to people, and I had a lot of people reach out to me over DMs right after the World Poker Tour that I had no clue who they were, but they were really nice, and I know they're real because they actually used their real names. So you know, it wasn't whoever and a bunch of numbers. But yes, so some people reached out. But on social media, I'm on Twitter. I have been doing a lot more the past few months than I did in previous years, but even though I've had it for a while, but it is LoriAnn Per 66, or it's LOPE. You think I know my own Twitter handle? Wait, I tweet myself, but no, it is LOANPER 66. LoriAnn Per.
Nice.
For LoriAnn Persinger 66. That's the year I was born. So, yeah.
And we'll make sure that we put the link in the show notes. So if you're listening along, you can just scroll down to the show notes there and you'll find a way to get in touch with LoriAnn. LoriAnn, thanks for sharing this hour with us. I really enjoyed this. I hope our listeners got a sense of kind of what you're about and a little taste of your story. And I think we're actually going to be doing a RecPoker meetup down in Las Vegas in June. So I'll stay in touch. Maybe there's a chance we could all get together and share a beverage or something.
I love talking and meeting people. Yes, please do. Yes, and I mean that. Like I said, you think I talk fast or a lot now? Wait till you see me in person.
Yeah.
You're like, she never shuts up. God.
I got the sense you might be open to that kind of a thing. That's fantastic. All right, well, there you go, LoriAnn Persinger. I hope
for having me.
We'll see you again soon, I hope, and have a great night. Thanks again.
Thank you. You too. Bye, you guys.
All right, well, that was a fantastic interview with LoriAnn Persinger. We're going to be doing our food bank support raffle here soon. As soon as we put Joe in his place here about the large vehicle comment I was making earlier. Actually, I should clarify, Joe, that's a good point. I myself drive a large vehicle. So what I really meant was that it's when people, like when you're on the highway and everyone's anonymous to each other and you're not able to actually engage with others as people, it's like the comment section of a YouTube video or something like that, because people don't feel connected to the other people there. And so they are at their worst. They're putting their worst selfish self forward. And I think that traffic is kind of a good corollary for that. But smack me down, bro. I'm here.
Right. You're just an anti-SUVite. I mean, I don't.
I drive an SUV. I'm really,
no,
I mean, I could be a
self-hating anti-SUVite.
There you go. All right. Well, I'm going to join your little, and folks, yeah, there was a fun little vote on there if you want to join. Okay, well, that was cool. I'm glad we finally got a chance to talk to her. I only wish I'd pulled the trigger earlier. I keep thinking, oh, RecPoker is just this little organization. We're not going to be competing with the other bigger podcasts out there. But I should have just shot my shot. Back in December. We could have had her on earlier. So that was fun. I hope people do go check that out. John Somsky, why don't you talk us through some recent home game results? Oh my God. But I mean, there's the one that we have to be super excited about. Okay, I guess I'm going to just talk about it. Well, actually, John, why don't you, and then we can interrupt him. That's much better. No, you're right, Chris. In fact, I almost got there before you, but you're right. So yeah, John, what's going on in the poker game, in the home game club these days?
So I was just kind of waiting to see if you were going to interrupt me again there.
It's a trap. It's a total trap.
It's a trap.
Yeah, and we will get to the astonishing news, but I kind of want to go through these. Let them unfold in order here.
That's build some tension. Oh, and I guess I'll interrupt you now just to say that folks should start typing the words food bank into the YouTube chat here. Food insecurity is something that affects a large number of people. It might even be some people in your neighborhood or in your community that you wouldn't expect. And, we all want to kind of make the world a better place in some way. One great way to see a huge, fantastic ROI, if you're going to donate some money or some time or some non-perishable food items, would be to support your own local food bank and put some food in the stomach of some hungry people in your own neighborhood or your community. You might be surprised who needs a little help every now and again. So please do go support your local food bank. And if you want to win a prize tonight, you can type the words food bank into the chat here, and we'll have our raffle draw shortly. John, sorry, you were saying something about home games, I think.
Yes. Well, first we have the Mixed Game Championship Series, which was PLO for March. And on March 8th, Keck Geek 65, that is Keck Geek Jr., came out, and he won the Mixed Game Championship for his first Mixed Game Series of the year, and his second win overall the year.
Is there anything Jacob Kiki cannot do? Is there anything he can't do?
I think he can do it all. I have a suspicion, although no proof, that he has come out of retirement because for a long time he was not playing.
Yes.
Probably due to schoolwork or something like that, in order to get the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yep.
And we'll have a little bit more on that later. Then, March 6th, Jody Allison won her first nightly event. E. Anderson 85 got his second nightly event of the year. Digging 8 Grays, Chris Simonu. Yeah, okay, I screwed one up. Got his first nightly event of the year. And then E. Anderson 85, Eric Anderson, got his third nightly event for the year. Dowling KB got his second nightly event for the year.
Yeah, Doug's on a bit of a roll.
And then the one we have been waiting for, Evil Roy CA, David Westerveld, got his first daily mixed event for the year. But that's not the important or impressive part. It's his 50th lifetime win in RecPoker home games, which makes him the very first person to win the RecPoker Lifetime Achievement Award.
Amazing. Amazing.
That is, I mean, that is astoundingly high number of victories. Like 50.
Yes.
Like 50. You know,
Yes.
That's a lot. I mean, that's just amazing.
I know I've gone to in Discord, I have a little bracketed number next to my name, and that's my total number. And it's about half of what Dave's number is. So that is a very impressive number.
Yeah, and Dave was hung up on 49 for a while, so it was great to see him finally make it to number 50. We've been talking about it as though it's sort of this presumptive thing, and I'm sure that has added a layer of stress to Dave's gameplay as he breaks for 50. I have no doubt. Joe, what were you saying there?
I was going to say that it's such a high number. There's not even a dice that we can roll that has 50 sides on it.
It's true.
Yeah, not yet, although the technology exists. Yeah, so seriously, super impressive for Dave. I think, John, you were saying he won his first home game in August of 2020, and he's won a series of mixed games and home games, the No Limit Hold'em ones, the mixed game series, the international home game series. He's kind of shown up, and this doesn't even count the Fun Country Thursday night games that we used to run for the last half of 2022, where he and Eric Jin were kind of perennial winners in that series as well. So just in the home game club to get to 50, I mean, our hats off to you, Dave. So I think congratulations, and I'm so glad that you're able to break that and be the very first winner. And you know what? I'm really glad that Taylor doesn't get to be the inaugural silver lifetime achievement winner.
That. Nobody wanted
that. I mean, I think, Taylor's great and all, and we'll talk about him a little coming up as well.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love Taylor to death. I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Taylor doesn't show on the podcast as often because he's got a family. He has to tuck his kids in around the time that we go to air. But he's definitely one of the more gifted poker players here on the crew.
Sure,
and we give him the gears, man.
Yeah.
We make fun of Taylor more than probably anybody else on the show.
Say, John, I do have a question about this, right? This is we're calling this the Lifetime Achievement Award, but this was it's like a silver one, right?
Correct.
And so, do we even know what a gold is? What is a gold Lifetime Achievement Award?
Well, it will be commemorated with a gold RecPoker pin. However, we have not determined exactly what the criteria for earning gold is going to be. I think we're going to wait until a couple people have earned silver to see how far off that needs to be. Because I would have thought 50, that would have taken forever for people to win, but Dave comes, snaps it off. And we're going to be talking about a couple of people who are chomping close at the bit yet in tonight's home game wins as well. So we want to make sure that it is special. So maybe right now I'm thinking somewhere around 150 maybe, but we'll see what we do. It might not just be wins. We might have some other things thrown in with that, but we're going to come up with something good there.
Yeah,
Awesome.
It's been exciting. It's been exciting to see the race come together. And John, do you have at your fingertips kind of who are some of the next folks that are approaching in that area? I know I think Magra is in the 30s or 40s. I think Kim Kilroy, a certain Pet Fet, recently reached the 40 threshold, and I feel like there's a couple other regulars. I mean, Jacob's got to be getting pretty close. He won 22 just in last year alone.
Yeah, if you look at it, Megray is in the 40 reigns. I don't have the exact number. I think it's like maybe 45.
Yeah.
But then on March 11th, Pet Bet 33, Kim Kilroy, won her first international event of the year for her 40th lifetime victory.
Wow, there we
is.
go,
Amazing.
Kim.
Amazing.
And then Keck Geek 65, Jacob, but shouldn't dox him. His name is listed as private there. Anyway, Keck Geek 65 got his first international victory for the 2 p.m. event, and that puts him at 41 events lifetime. So, and it should be noted that he did win 2 events this year. Otherwise, Kim would have had the lead on him. But he just couldn't handle that. So, Kim, you've got to catch up. Got to take over there.
And when did I win my first one? You don't have that information?
Oh, yeah.
I can look it up here real quickly. If someone else, vamps for a while, do a soft show.
Joe, you unmuted.
I just don't know why my 2 wins has not been a topic in this conversation.
That's right. I mean, Joe, given this disparity in skill levels, it's very impressive. It's extremely impressive.
This is true. This is true. And at my current rate, I should do it in 50 years. So that's
right.
It's a true lifetime achievement award.
That's right, because I'll die before I get there.
So, Kim, you won your very first event on September 2nd, 2020.
So it's only fair. You did start a little behind, Dave. It seems your first one was a little behind. And first of all, how freaking cool is it? How great is John Somsky that we can just ask him that question live here on the air, and like 10 seconds of making fun of Joe later, all of a sudden, boom, we have the answer. I mean, that's
amazing.
People don't appreciate what we have here in John Somsky.
It's a measurable unit making fun of coolers. It's like exactly that amount of time.
Actually, I think that is the international standard. It is the coolest. In which that's how you measure ridicule.
When you're on like hold, like you're calling some company, you're on hold for like 30 minutes. That's like, oh man, this is taking so many cooluses. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Got my name on something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's no Somsky ratio, but you've got a lot of room. There's a lot of ways there's a lot of room there. And I see we've got Dave Westerveld, our own Evil Roy Slade, is here in the YouTube chat as well. So, yeah, I'm sure from everyone here on the RECing Crew, Dave, and I'm sure everyone else in RecPoker Nation and the Home Game Club, who you've been trouncing on the E-Felt for the last little while, a heartfelt congratulations and way to go. And you are officially in the driver's seat for the currently non-existing gold lifetime achievement pin. So that's fantastic, and no one deserves it more. We should actually have Dave on the show, I think, one time over the next little while and sort of get to know him a little better. Dave's been a part of the poker world for a long time. He's an excellent player. He's obviously got some chops. He's friends with other poker industry people. I know he and Stapes and a couple other folks have a good relationship as well. So it'd be nice to get to know Dave Westerveld a little more. Maybe we'll put that together over the next couple months.
Then maybe he could give us a couple of hints of, how to set the gold membership so that he won't be the first to win that one.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So we do have one more. Michael Babker won the LPP event for his very first LPP event this year, and he can contact Jim at rec.poker for his free month at Learn Pro Poker.
Michael Babker, that's fantastic. So regular listeners might know, Michael's been helping us out since Mark Prashant left to go explore some exciting opportunities. Michael's been helping me a lot with the website technical requirements of the community, and helping with membership issues and that kind of thing. And it's great to see the run good apply. This isn't the first time we've been shouting out Michael Babker for winning a home game. So congratulations, Michael. And he's just one of those amazing premium members here who like to contribute more, not just $15 a month, but some time, some expertise. And, we need all the help we can get from our community here. That's how we make things work over here at RecPoker. Maybe that's not the way that you want to contribute, but if you go to rec.poker/support, you can find a series of other ways to help out the organization, either by liking or subscribing or reviewing something, or buying us a cup of coffee on PayPal or something like that. But of course, the one thing that we really prefer is if you join our premium membership. That's where all the magic happens, and it's a great way to show your support. Whether you're going to be an active participant or not, the more premium members we have, the better. And it's a lot of fun, and I guarantee you'll find something rewarding if you decide to try us out there. So we're getting we've got a couple people typing food bank in the chat.
I don't have that many entries tonight. I don't know why people are being shy about it.
Now,
so do you have a coin?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah.
I could probably find a coin.
How about a two-sided dice?
Two-sided die. Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah.
So the way we're going to be doing this going forward, so we've got some amazing learning partners. Our Learning with Partners program that Andrew Feist runs is a phenomenal aspect of our premium membership here. Sites like Solve for Why, Learn Pro Poker, PokerCoaching.com, The Poker Forge, Redshift, and a few others. They all offer our premium members an ability to kind of look behind the scenes and look behind their paywall curtain for some of their premium training material every month. So one of the things we're going to be doing for our raffle here is if you win the raffle at the end of the show, and we do this every week live on YouTube, come and win a prize. It costs nothing to do so, and it's a fun way to join the game here. If you're not a premium member at RecPoker, you're going to win a free month at RecPoker in the premium membership. If you are already a premium member, then we're going to up the ante, and you're going to be able to choose between a discount on some coaching products here at RecPoker, or a free month of Range Trainer Pro, or a free month of PokerCoaching.com. And I'm gonna talk to a few more of our learning partners and see if we can expand that portfolio a bit. But Joe says, if you're a Wrecking Crew member, do we get a car? Yeah, only a small car, as per my aforementioned bias. We could do one of those like technically true deals where you get like a Hot Wheels set in the mail or something. And I was like, yeah, it's like 10,000 doll hairs, right? I mean, read the small print. So it's nice if you're not a premium member at RecPoker. You can always win your way in, like Danny Wood, who won his way in a couple weeks ago. But if you are a RecPoker premium member, it's just a chance to take it to the next level with some really amazing prizes. So Chris, what do you think? I think we actually only have two people typing the words food bank. Oh, we did get three? Okay. So we're not going to be able to use a coin after all.
No coins.
How do you want to proceed?
Well, I never get to use the four-sided dice, so I want to use it and just because I'm kind of confused how it works, but I'm going to try it.
All right,
it's the cool person dice. You can't use that one.
What?
That's the cool person dice.
So I want to try it. So if I get a 4, we'll re-roll.
But if you don't, it's going to be a 1 for Stuart, a 2 for Mary, and a 3 for Dave. Is that right?
That is right.
Okay, let's see what we got.
We go. It is. Oh boy.
Uh-oh.
It's a 3.
We broke it.
It's a 3.
It's a 3. David Westerveld cannot stop winning here on the RecPoker podcast. Just goes to show, get involved, get that premium membership, start winning everything. So Dave, you know the drill. Send me an email, jim@rec.poker, and we'll get you set up. You can choose between a free month of membership at a few other sites or a coaching package here at RecPoker. We'll talk about that. Send me that email, jim@rec.poker. And Michael Babker, if you're listening, congratulations on your free month at Learn Pro Poker. So you should, we'll be talking every couple of weeks, but send me that email and I'll make sure I get you set up with your free month. So we did make fun of Taylor Moss a little. I think we can do better. I think we can add a little more making fun of Taylor, but we also have to point out what a phenomenal job he's doing producing Marek Madness. So if listeners don't know, you may have heard of March Madness. They copied us. We started this a long time ago. Marek Madness. It happens every Thursday night in March. It's a heads-up ladder bracket tournament. Round 1 is in the books. We started at 16, and then we're down to 8. And every Thursday night, I'll be joined in the booth by a different guest as we add live commentary onto the heads-up cards displayed action unfolding live on twitch.tv/recpoker. So this week you can join us on Thursday, March 16th, where WSOP bracelet winner Chris Fox Wallace will be joining me as we start the round 2 matches. The following week on the 23rd, friend of the show, Rob Gardner, will be here to provide some analysis. And then the finals on March 30th. I haven't locked in the details for our special guest announcer that month, so I don't want to, or that week, so I don't want to say it out loud just in case something goes wrong. But whoever it is will be joining me and joining the ranks of Laura Eisenberg, who was the WSOP bracelet winner who joined Taylor Moss in the commentary booth in week 1. And we had a ton of fun last week with Dara O'Carney and me having just yucking it up.
Burning
and
the
talking
midnight
about
oil for
Yeah.
Dara.
Dara was up till 5 a.m. In the booth with me, and he was like bringing it the whole time. I mean, yeah. And to take you behind the curtain a little bit, he was originally going to do the finals with me on the 30th, but our guest had to not show. Our guest couldn't make it as it happened on last week's show, and so I texted him that afternoon and said, "Hey, is there any chance you could make it? Because we just have to, get someone in, and we couldn't do it on the time that we planned." And he just jumped in. Literally, he said, "When do you need me?" I love this guy.
Wow.
How great is this? Like, yeah, I'll stay up all night in the UK talking recreational poker in the booth with Jim Reid and Taylor Moss. I mean, good Lord. And if folks don't know, every month Chris Jones runs his deep dive seminar here at RecPoker. And it also features analysis from Dara O'Carney. It's a great way. Every month you play with some other RecPoker premium members.
It hasn't for a couple months here, but we're going to get back on track.
So anyway, Dara O'Carney, thank you so much again. Laura Eisenberg, it's been great having your contributions here in Marek Madness. I can't wait to talk to Fox Wallace and get back in the booth with Rob Gardner as well. We're just so lucky to be in this place in the poker world. And it's due to the support of our listeners and our members and the rest of RecPoker Nation. I think having you be such a big, vibrant part of what we do here lets these other real professionals look at us with a little grace and come and help us out here. And it means the world. It means the world to us. So thank you all very much. Is there anything else that we should mention here before we close this baby up and roll on out of here? It doesn't look like it. So I'll say, if you're listening to this live, please do join us on Thursday, March 16th, twitch.tv/recpoker. And if you're catching it when it comes out on audio on Friday the 17th, you still got time to join us the night of the 23rd and the night of the 30th. And that's going to be a lot of fun. But of course, that's just the tip of the iceberg. If you go to rec.poker/events, you'll see our events calendar. And it is pretty robust. Robust is the word I'm going to use for that. We've got multiple events happening pretty much every day. Come join the fun. A lot of it's free. And the rest of it, your premium membership only costs $15 a month. So come and give us a try. So my thanks to LoriAnn Persinger, to Kim Kilroy, Rob Washam, John Somsky, Chris Jones, and Joe Coolis, to the Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino, and to you, the listeners, without which we would not do it. So I appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.